last time. Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Sally Dymond. I'm an ASEA Double Diamond. That just means I've been doing this for about 3 years and I've helped a lot of people. So on your screen there, you can see a couple of questions. Why does your body age? Why does your body get sick? And why does your body seem to stop working as you age? So I'm sure all of us would like to stay looking like the person on the left, but somehow we end up looking like the person on the right. So I'm going to share with you tonight some of the tools that we use in our house for my family, for myself, and how and why we got started using them. And there's no coincidence that you're here tonight. Someone has invited you that cares for you very much, and they've asked you to listen to this presentation only because they're trying to help you, and you may possibly have a health challenge, and they wanted to reach out and help. So spend some time. It will be about 45 minutes that we're going to share some time together tonight, and I hope that you get to laugh and learn a few things along the way. So this is me, and you can see some of the things that I love here on this front page. So I've been in the health and wellness space for about 28 years, and it originally started for me as an athlete. So in my high school days, I aspired to be a triathlete, let's just say. That's kind of where it began in grade 9. It was a new school sport, and I thought that it would be fun to swim, run and ride. Swim, ride and run, let's just say. As a result of doing that, I went to get some coaching, and my coach said to me, "You're not a triathlete, Sally, you're a swimmer." And he came out, he made me swim a couple of laps, and he stood at the end of the pool, and he was holding an Australian tracksuit. And I got out as a grade 9 student. He said, "I think you can wear this if you do what I say." So I immediately thought that was a much better idea than doing the Noosa Triathlon. And I said, "Well, what do I have to do?" And he said, "You just have to be here at 4:30 in the morning and start training." And so I looked at my mother, who was not very impressed with that bit of news. And anyway, the journey began of swimming. So I just missed the Barcelona Olympics in 92 by 0.04 of a second. My fingernails just weren't long enough that day, and I didn't reach the wall as fast as the person next to me. So what it did do for me, though, was teach me a whole lot of discipline, dedication, determination, and consequently, I ended up quite sick with glandular fever and chronic fatigue, because as an athlete, you're burning the candle at both ends. I was going through high school, and I was pretty burnt out and fatigued by the end of all of that. So as part of that process, I did not have a menstrual cycle. I was lean, mean, fighting machine, and you know, a bit different to how I look today. But funny people say to me, "Why don't you join the Masters and swim, Sally?" And I said, "Because I'll never ever swim that fast again." So for me, that's not really something that I wanted to do. So anyway, I became interested in health and alternative medicine, and that's what started my journey in acupuncture, massage, bioresonance, scanner therapy. So today I have a practice. I treat people of all ages, of all types, of all illnesses and injuries, and I am absolutely passionate about helping someone and really giving them the tools that they need to get well. So part of my journey then with ASEA was that I was introduced to Renew 28 and the ASEA products, and I was a massive skeptic. So if some of you are sitting there as a skeptic, you're not really sure what this is all about, you've kind of been sitting there a little bit bamboozled, or, you know, floundering at what the hell this is or how it works. I hope that tonight I can share some insight and answer some of those questions. Other things that I love to do, I love to ground myself in the garden, because all of the things that we really need to be well are really at our fingertips, and people are overcomplicating their lives and spending too much time in doctors' offices really searching for the answer through the doctor and through medicine, when really the answer probably lies within ourself, our body, our cells, and in nature. So something I love to do is be outside, be immersed under the sun, be under the moon, be with the stars, be in my garden, get my feet dirty. You know, we love to play in the dirt and surround myself with plants and nature. So that's what we're doing this weekend. We're going to disconnect from all technology and just go bush and hang off a cliff and go rock climbing. So one of the other passions I have is traveling. I've been fortunate enough to travel to over 120 countries. And I was lucky enough to spend some time on Crystal Cruises, which is one of the best cruise ships in the world. It's a 6-star exotic cruise ship. I was the head therapist on board for 8 months, and I got to do a world cruise and circumnavigate the world, which was absolutely amazing. So That's just a little bit about me and my background. But this is how I live my life in the fast lane. I was a swimmer. I swam 50 meters. I did one lap and I took one breath, and I did it in 26 seconds. Not quite as fast as the Campbell sisters are doing now, but it was one of the fastest things. I love to be in the fast lane, and that has never changed in my life. So everything I do, there's always an easy and a simple version, and people, like I said, are overcomplicating everything. So hopefully tonight I'll share with you some of the fast things that we do when something happens in our house. So my life is a fully booked therapist. I work really, really long hours. I work too many days. I was working too many days. I was seeing too many clients, and I was burning the candle at both ends. So, you know, I thought that was a good way to live life. I had a thriving, great business, and but, you know, every second really counts, and you never get that second back. So I cram a lot into my day, into my night. I sleep like a log, and I don't sleep probably as much as I should, although my husband seems to think that I sleep too much. So he only needs 4 or 5 hours sleep a night. I generally need about 8. So my motto is really to just get in, get it done, and get out of there. So my first question to you tonight is, are you doing what you love? Because like I said, time is short. I spent Friday going to 2 funerals, and it was 2 people that I cared for, and, you know, that contributed a lot to their community. So, you know, I want to ask you, is what you're doing something that really matters to you? And is it helping and serving someone and making you happy in doing it? Because if it's not, then you could be, you know, sitting back there on your deathbed one day going, I should have or I could have. So I want to inspire and motivate you tonight to really think about what you're doing and if you're making a difference in someone's life. So you can see here some photos of us having fun. It was Christmas Day, making a nice big turkey, camping. Wherever I am, I'm really, you know, asked to help someone. Camping, you know, someone's always got a buggered back or a neck, and I've always got my gadget handy because I would never leave the house without my scanner device or my key device. So, you know, when you've got some tools at hand, you can help people wherever you are. And one of the things you'll see here is me doing a triathlon, and of course I was put to the test and challenged just recently to take part in the Noosa Triathlon, because consequently that was a goal in grade 9 and I never got to tick that list. So I'll share some experiences of how and why I'm doing some crazy things now, and it's really because I now have a bit more time. I have time that I can go and do crazy events, but I have the energy, and that's the most important thing. So the first question in this series is, why are you here today? Do you need support with a health challenge? So you've been invited to this call because someone cared about you. Someone sees that you're struggling, maybe in your health, maybe in your family's health, or maybe they just want you to have the same thing they've got, which is probably more energy, better sleep, and they're just feeling on top of the world, or they're feeling like they did many, many years ago. For me, I didn't really have a health challenge when I first started to look at these products. I really had a skin challenge. My skin was red, irritated, bumpy. I was really unhappy in my skin, in my face, I guess you could say, because I just couldn't solve that problem of why it was so red. I knew that I was allergic to chocolate, which was a massive downfall for me because I like to eat a little bit of chocolate. And I knew that I was allergic to citrus. So if I didn't eat those 2 things, my skin was kind of okay. But if I did, it would flare up and get red. The beauty now is that it's coming up to Easter and I can eat a little bit of chocolate now and my skin doesn't flare up like it used to. So the second question there is, do you want to live younger, longer? Well, of course, everyone wants to live younger for longer, longer. Most people are living longer, but are they really living? They're kind of living, but they're only barely surviving, or they're struggling. The world's really sick, and it kind of hurts me when I go outside into the public space and I see people limping and hobbling and, you know, really just carrying themselves around and barely functioning. You know, that's not how we're supposed to live. We're supposed to thrive, and we're supposed to have energy and motivation and be able to go out and help one another. Number 3 is, are you looking for some income and a better lifestyle? Well, we all dream of being retired, but really, do we want to be retired and just sitting around? For me, you know, it was about having some more time, and it was about being free, where I didn't have to be standing at my table. I love what I do. I love my clients. I love standing here every day and treating them. But the only way I actually made money is if I did that, if I stood at my table and made money. So for 28 years, every cent that I've ever earned has really come from touching someone or helping someone. So I dreamt of a job where I had a company car. I had someone pay me. I had someone pay me for holidays. And so after my first business of 10 years, I sold everything, and people would say, what are you going to do, Sally? And I said, well, one of my dreams was to get a real job. And people would say, you have a real job. You have a great job. And I would say, yeah, I do, but that's kind of easy. You know, I want to join the rat race like everyone else. And they would laugh at me. So when I got overseas, I got a real job, funnily enough, in the pharmaceutical industry. And I was a big pharma rep for a drug. So they sent me to Guernsey, and beautiful island, beautiful place. We were put in a room for 4 days. We were pretty much profiled a drug, told exactly what to say, how to say, when to say, what we were to tell about that drug. And all we had to do was get the doctor to say yes, 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 as many times as we could, with the final close question being, is this doctor, can you think of someone that you would recommend this product to next time they walk in? And if the doctor said yes, then that was a tick for me, and off I would go to the next doctor. Well, that didn't sit very well with me, because the reality is that I knew what that drug did and the side effects, and I wasn't allowed to tell the doctor any of that. So that didn't really sit with my integrity and who I was and what I believed in. So I didn't last very long in that job. I went to the next thing on my list, and that was the cruise ship. And the third thing that I did while I traveled was to actually be working on the tennis circuit. And I got to spend time with Venus and Serena and Martina Navratilova, Kim Clijsters, Lindsay Davenport, all the female tennis players that you probably know of from 10 years ago. I touched them. The men I didn't get to touch, only the women. So I spent 5 years traveling the world with them to all the Grand Slams and all the tournaments in between, which was a fantastic experience. So when I moved back to Australia, I had a great business, and I was not looking for an income. I say that came as a side effect from using these amazing products and recommending them to friends, clients, and family, and really helping them and showing them how using these products can change and benefit them and their lives. So when we break down the body here and talk about health at the cellular level, we're going to break you down into the finest minute particle that we possibly can. So we live and die at the cellular level, and when cells are healthy, we're healthy. So if we take you and we break you down into the systems of your body, and some of you have one system that's a bit broken. I pretty much play with the musculoskeletal system. That's kind of my passion. I'm into sports injuries and backs and necks, and pretty much 2 out of 3 people have got some kind of dysfunction in their body where they're suffering some kind of lack of movement, or something's just not working properly. But if you're someone that's suffering problems in other systems of the body, then you're breaking down on many levels. If we were to take those systems and break them down into organs, then into tissues, and then into cells, the next thing that happens when we break that cell down is we break it down into a redox signaling molecule. And that's what we're talking about today. So when I was presented with ASEA and Renew 28, I kind of had to take a good look at it and say, well, what is this? You know, I was first lying in bed on a Sunday morning. I was feeling pretty miserable and sorry for myself. I'd been working too much. And I just thought, you know, why am I being so skeptical here? Why am I sitting on the fence when I've been sitting in a Facebook group like some of you probably are, and watching all these amazing posts of what people are doing, and just going, why wouldn't I try this? There's so many great stories out there. What's stopping me and holding me back? Well, I was a big skeptic. My brain was in overdrive going, oh yeah, but why would you do that? You really should be at the doctor. Why don't you, how is it possibly going to work on that condition? And then I would see the after picture, and I would see, okay, this really is working. So I sent a message to a friend and said, I'd really like to try some of that gel. She said she didn't have any. She was waiting on an order. Go onto her website and order it. So I did. And in that process, I discovered through watching a video that this was a cellular product working on the cell and helping that cell learn to communicate and signal within the body. So when you get that signaling, and I call them the good guys come in and tell the body how to work and what to do. So cellular communication is the key to cellular health. So when we take a look at this photograph, this picture here, we can see with age, diet, stress, and environmental toxins. Now, some of those things we can control, and some things we can't control. We can be quite good at saying we have a great diet. I'm a health maniac. I like to, you know, think that I watch what I eat. But when I step outside of my house, and lucky for me, my clinic and setup is at home. So I have an amazing, you know, setup at the front of my house where I come to work. I don't have a commute. I walk through a door. I pretty much stay in that workspace all day. I go out for lunch and I come back, and then I go out for dinner. And so I can control what is in front of me by what I put in my fridge or what comes to my door in my organic food box, but I can't control when I go out and I want to eat out, or I go out with friends, or I go traveling and I'm in someone else's home. And then the stress level. How do we control all of the stress that we're placed on? Kids, work, school, sport, family, you know, and then having your own space and time. It's very difficult to do that. The most important thing and the most difficult thing that we can control, though, is our environment. We can't live in a bubble, and we are exposed to our neighbours' pesticides. We're exposed to the contaminants on our food. The environment is a pretty toxic place. So when we start to talk about detect, protect, repair and replace, we're talking on a cellular level, but we've also got these outside influences that are impacting our life as well. So if we take a look at this photograph here, we have a beautiful baby. So we all start out as a beautiful baby. Some of us not so beautiful as others, but you know, your mum always thinks so. And we start there as a baby, and we're born with trillions and trillions of happy, healthy redox signaling molecules. Now, by the time we get to 40, I'm 43. Lucky for me, I started taking ASEA when I was 40. That's when our function of our redox molecules declines by about 50%. So people would always say to me, Sally, don't turn 40. When you turn 40, your eyes start to go and everything starts to break down. And I thought, I'm pretty healthy. You know, nothing's going to break down for me. Everything will be just fine. Well, of course, I turned 40 and my eyes did start to go. I went to the optometrist. Of course, they sell glasses. I got some glasses. I didn't really want to wear those glasses. People said, don't start wearing glasses. You'll have to keep getting glasses and they'll keep getting stronger. So at that time, I was kind of going, what am I going to do? I don't need another thing to carry here with my phone and my keys. So I didn't start wearing the glasses. I started using these products instead. Well, 12 months later, I had another eye test, and guess what? My eyes were back to normal, and I had a funky condition going on in my eyelid that had also cleared. So thankfully, 3 years later, I still don't need to wear glasses. When we turn 60, that production of redox molecule goes down by about another 20%. So now we're operating at about 30 or 40%. And by the time we're at 80, we're only operating at about 10% redox production. So deficiencies and imbalances, cellular communication, cellular efficiency, cellular functioning, it's just not working like it used to. And guess what? We're starting to sag. We're starting to get achy. Our systems are starting to break down, and we're just feeling pretty poor. So a client once said to me, the 40-year-old, you know, I was telling a 60-year-old client, about, you know, people that were telling me not to turn 40. And that 60-year-old said to me, my gosh, Sally, 40 is amazing. Just don't turn 60. And on that same day, an 80-year-old came in and she said to me, oh my gosh, Sally, 60 is amazing. You certainly don't want to turn 80, because when you turn 80, you know, everything's broken. And then just this week, I had the pleasure of treating a 91-year-old who was absolutely amazing. And she had a sore shoulder because she was pulling out some weeds, and you know, we kind of laughed, and she said, why won't this get better? You know, and I said, well, you are 91, for goodness sake. You know, it's like you can't live forever. But she's in such amazing shape that after 2 treatments, that shoulder is getting better remarkably well. So when we start to use some of these cool tools that we use and start to put those molecules back into the body, our body can act and feel like it did 20 and 30 and 40 years ago. So now I've been using them for 3 years. I can say that, you know, my skin is the best it's ever been, and I've got more energy and more stamina than I did, 5-10 years ago. So you'll begin to start to see and feel the effects of aging, but as you start to add redox into your life, that aging kind of goes backwards. So ASEA's foundational approach to healthy cell function, because it helps coordinate cellular activity. So the job of a redox molecule is first to detect. We have to be able to detect within our cells and our body that there is a problem. If you can't detect that there's a problem, then what happens? We get rogue cells, we get damaged cells, we get inflammation, we get destruction that starts to happen within that system or organ of the body. Now, if the body can detect that there's a bad cell, the natural process is that if it is a bad cell, it creates apoptosis or cell suicide, where that cell is pretty much annihilated and a new healthy cell, it's replaced with a healthy cell. What happens then is that we want to be able to make sure that we can protect that cell, so that we can protect it from an invasion or a bacteria or a virus. And if that cell is damaged and it can be repaired, then we want to be able to repair it. So at the cellular level, there's all these little things that are going on in that detect, repair, replace, protect function. So that's essentially what we're doing when we put redox molecules into our body. Either we put them in internally or we put them on topically. It's like we're putting that mechanism of detection. So we'll talk about that in a little moment. So redox molecules, they regulate every major system of the body at the cellular level. So you'd actually all be dead without redox. So as the number of redox molecules are declining, when they get to a critical level, what happens? We're sick, we're degenerated, we're broken, and then we essentially die. So, you know, if we can top those molecules up, it's like bringing life back into the body. So one of the analogies I like to use here with this picture is you can see this system of networks, pathways, lines, arrows going on in the body. So when everything's working, we've got a healthy, functioning, imagine healthy, clean blood flowing through your body. We've got messages coming down your brain, down your spinal cord, and going out into your arms and your limbs and all of the different intricacies that occur within the body. Now, if something is broken or damaged, then it's a bit like a dark black spot that occurs, or it's not moving and functioning and flowing how it should be. Those of you that have flown over LA or a big city at night, you can, in the daytime in peak hour traffic, you can see the hustle and the bustle and the moving. Sometimes the traffic's slow and it's getting clogged. But if you were to fly over that same place in the middle of the night, hopefully 90% of that is black. Everyone's asleep and everyone's shut down. Now, if that happens within our body and our body is sick, we've got major black spots, we've got major dark areas, or maybe we've got some clogged areas where there's no movement occurring. As soon as we start to add redox into the picture, it's like lighting up that black spot and that black area and getting that free flow and communication through the body. So here we've got a list of all the symptoms or some of the systems in the body. So if you have problems in your cardiovascular system, then if we were to break that down, it's our heart and all the arteries and the system that goes with that. If you've got multiple problems in multiple systems of your body, then just taking these products for, you know, a month or 2 months or 3 months, it's not going to correct it immediately. But what's happening is that first stage is the detection stage where it's detecting where the damage is. It's a bit like that examiner that goes into a company that's got, you know, sales staff, marketing staff, HR, when every kind of corporation and system in that organization is broken. They have to go in and start to first assess where is the breakdown occurring or where is there trouble, in which department. And when they find the trouble in the department, they then have to break it apart. And sometimes they have to send staff on their way or they have to create new systems in place. It's the same thing here. When we go into a body and we assess the damage that's occurred, we then need to start that destruction where we detect and we have to create apoptosis or cellular cleanup needs to occur first. When we start that cellular cleanup, it can be called a detox. So you want to be drinking more water, you want to be resting and let the body, because the body only heals when you're asleep. So in that process, it's starting to clean up. When it's done the cleanup, those new healthy cells are starting to form and that signaling and communication is happening within the body and the body is starting to wake up. The lights are starting to come on, the signals are starting to transmit and the body can start to heal itself. Every system, organ, tissue renews and heals itself at a different rate. So our skin renews itself every 28 days. That's why it's called Renew 28. So for me personally, my skin cycle was probably at 60 or 90 days. And so it did take my skin a good 6 months before it really turned and I could say, yes, Renew 28 really is working and my skin really is better. So if you've had a problem for a really long time, you have to be persistent and consistent in how you try and heal and repair it. So this gentleman here, Dr. Robertson Ward's fantastic book. If you haven't seen it, ask the person who invited you tonight for a copy of it. He says that 95% of our genes are not fixed. And what if we could influence these? Our genes tell our cells what to do, and science shows that lifestyle changes and biochemical cellular factors activate a gene. Dr. Rob Ward says, I know of no better resource than supplementing redox molecules if we want to impact our cells foundationally. So people often ask, well, what is it? What is ASEA or Renew 28? Well, it's simply redox signaling molecules. What ASEA has done, no one else in the world has done. It's the only place you can get active redox signaling molecules exactly like your body makes to replenish. And then they might ask, well, what does it do? Well, I just told you we're breaking down really from about 40 until we get to, 80, if we can make it that far, living healthily and happily. So it tells our cells what to say, and it turns our genes on. And why do we need it? Because we're breaking down. It's as simple as that. We can't cope in our environment and with our toxins and pollutants. So ASEA products here, we have 3 redox products. The first product that came out was the ASEA liquid, and the secret in what they did is actually quite amazing. I always say there's always a simple way to do everything. The answers to health are actually quite simple. Like I shared with you earlier, it's about standing with your feet on the ground. It's about being exposed to daylight. And it's about replenishing your body with what it's made of. So I don't like to put anything synthetic. I don't like to put any, too many synthetic things into my body, i.e. nutritional supplements. And I don't like to play with the levels of too many things separate, because each thing counteracts something else. And so you have to be really careful that you don't upset this amazing body that we've got that's working. So the liquid was their first product. It did take 5 years for them to make the Renew 28 gel. They're stable, active molecules. As soon as they touch anything organic, that means a plant, an animal, or a human can use these, they start to activate. The atoms of the molecules are 2 to 4 atoms wide. They penetrate straight through the skin and go into the cells and start their job of topping up with redox. The third product there is a serum. That's part of our skincare system, and that is an even more concentrated version of the redox. Just on the weekend, we launched our Source product, which is our nutritional product. That's available for associates in Australia, and you must have your own account to order that product at the moment. But what we now have is the nutrition that goes into the cell. It's a whole food, plant-based supplement, completely GMO-free, gluten-free. And when that goes into the cells as the nutrition, the liquid then helps to transport as the communicator and the cellular communicator. And so we have a product that works from the outside in, and we have products that work from the inside out. So it's really simple. I'm not asking you to do anything complicated. I'm asking you to drink something 60 mils at a time, and I'm asking you to use the gel on your body wherever you may have a concern. It's the only product we use in our house on our skin. We've discarded all sorts of other products, and we don't buy anything else anymore, simply. So the cleanser and the moisturizer are a complement to that. So as a therapist, I believe in science. I like to look at the science. I like it when someone tests. They must use a third-party independent laboratory. That's what ASEA does, and they came up with some really, really great results. So you can see here, the one that I like is the skin elasticity increases by 20%. When we're dealing with scars or tendons or someone that's had surgery, we want to give some elasticity back to that skin. So the muscles move, the fascia moves. We also want to have an increase in blood flow. So you can see there we have a 50% increase in skin blood flow. As a massage therapist, that's my job, to bring the good guys in, bring the blood flow, move the lymph, and help to spread that movement and flow through the body. So if I can send a client home with a tube of Renew 28 and tell them that you can apply this 3 times in 5 minutes and do that 3 or 4 times a day, it's like having me in their back pocket, where I'm actually stimulating that healing process to go on. Now, I'm not always in someone's back pocket, and it's usually difficult for people to get in to see me. So if they have a tube of this and something happens and they can get to it immediately and apply the gel, then the chances are they're probably not going to need to see me, because they've taken care of it very, very quickly, and they've got the body actually communicating and signaling to clear up and improve the problem. We also have a nice reduction there in cellulite. So who doesn't want less cellulite? Even the men get a bit of cellulite, so you can rub it on your backside and wherever you might have some cellulite problems. Now, the athletic side of ASEA. So as I said before, there were some photos of me there doing a triathlon, and I was kind of conned to do every stupid thing that I've done in the last few years, but because of ASEA now, I've had the energy to do it. I don't do a lot of training. I go to yoga, that's my thing. In yoga, I don't have a phone, I don't want to talk to anyone, and I generally don't really know anyone, because I drive about 30 minutes to do yoga. I don't really do it in my backyard. And so for me to be able to do some of these things, it was a bit of a test in the beginning. I was asked to do the Great Ocean Road as a bike ride. It was 3 100-kilometre days in a row. And I had never ridden more than 100 kilometres ever in my life, and I was about to do 3 at once. So we did a little bit of training, 40 and 50K bike rides, a couple of 70Ks, and that was about it. So I said to my friend, she's never taken it before, you know, she can use it, and my husband and I had been using it for 6 months. So let's just see how I go. 62 of us lined up, and we did this bike ride. And at the end of it, we had no fatigue. We had increased endurance and stamina. We actually talked on day 2, which, if for those of you that know the Great Ocean Road, it's very hilly. We rode up that hill, and we were speaking the whole way. We had no discomfort in our legs or our backside. And on the last day, we kind of commented that we'd felt chipped, that we really could have got up and done it again. So I didn't know if that was true. And since then, I've tested it on a couple of Olympic-sized triathlons with the same results. So if you're an athlete, then you need to try this. Do it for yourself, and take a little bit more. We drink 2 and 3 times the dose before, the day before, and during the event, because we're stressing and straining our body. We're increasing inflammation, and we're really pushing ourselves more than, well, certainly more than I ever trained for. So it really helps to top you up, fill you up, and give you that boost. But I always say to people, if you're not an athlete, you're probably a weekend athlete. You want to get to your end of your week, and you want to chase the kids at soccer, or you want to go out and go for a run, or you might want to do in that fun run. And maybe something's niggling you or bothering you, or you just don't have the energy to get up and do that park run. Well, when you start to do this, you'll find that you do have the energy, and you have the motivation, and you have the go when school holidays come. Everyone's kind of falling and failing at the moment, because at the end of each term, everyone crashes. I don't seem to crash anymore, but the beauty is I don't have to stand at my table anymore either, because I've shared ASEA with many people now, and the side effect is that ASEA now is giving me some income. So it's giving me that ability now to go out and do some stupid events on weekends with my kids and my family, but it's also giving me some money, so I don't have to worry about stressing about having to be at work. So I say it takes someone that's sick and got no energy, and they're fatigued, and they're suffering some kind of viral load or viral impact or problem that they can't get out of bed. When you start to use these products, it gives you the energy to get up and get moving and get back to normal. If you're kind of normal and you're just flagging and crashing, it gives you that energy to be able to take the next step, where you can go out and do park run and have fun and do great things with your family on the weekends. If you're an athlete and you're looking for that edge, well, it gives you that edge in endurance and recovery, where you can get up and you can actually start to really compete and race. If you're an elite athlete, then I wish I had this when I was swimming, because you're burning the candle big time. I was swimming 4 and 5 kilometres twice a day, plus gym, plus running. And there was one week we called Hell Week, where I swam 100 kilometres in a week. That's right, I said swam. So at the end of that week, I was exhausted, I was hallucinating, and I was just plain, no wonder I got really sick, because how can the human body really do that? But if you can replenish and replace what you're burning off, then you've got that oomph to keep going. So ASEA does sponsor a number of athletes, and in that sponsoring of the athletes, they give them product, they don't pay them. So, you know, I say we're all an athlete, and we all need to get up, get off the couch, and get moving. So whatever it is in your life, then you need to get busy doing it. So there's some photographs here, and you can see it's not just about face and appearance. If that's what you're into, then of course it works, but it works on scars, and it works deeper than that, deep down into the body, into our cells. So at this time, we have to say that ASEA and Renew 28 are not intended to prevent, diagnose, treat, or cure any disease or medical condition. That's what we leave the doctors to do. And so in saying that, we can only talk about ASEA improving our cellular efficiency, cellular function, and cellular communication. So here we have a picture here of my son Hayden. Hayden here is with me tonight. He's going to show you his teeth. But he had a scooter accident actually the night before I did my Noosa triathlon, which was my second con. And he came into me the night before I was getting ready, and he had done this. He'd had a scooter accident out on the driveway at a friend's place, and he came in saying, "Mum, I think I'm going to lose all my teeth." I was horrified at the thought of this, because I didn't know what the heck to do, and I certainly didn't know where the hospital was. So I pretty much asked him to just put the liquid in his mouth, swish it around, have a couple of mouthfuls. We applied the scanner, we put the Renew gel on his face and on his gums, and within, you know, the next day, he was remarkably better. He was flagging a bit in the afternoon after the triathlon. I was worried that he was having an infection set in, And I was concerned about what really happened deep within his teeth. So we took him off to the dentist the next morning. The dentist told us that there was nothing to be afraid of and that it was just soft tissue damage. I pleaded with the dentist to give an x-ray, and the x-ray did reveal that he had broken all of his teeth in his gum line. So he took a spray bottle to school with the liquid, and he just sprayed his mouth as often as he could. He often jokes and said that when the teacher asked him a question, he would put the liquid in his mouth and he was unable to answer it. So it got him out of answering some questions, but what it did was actually heal his mouth. So you can see there on day 3, it's like it never happened. He continued to eat everything and anything that I put in front of him, and we never really spoke about the fact that he'd had an injury. 2 months later, he was re-x-rayed and he has had his teeth completely healed, much to the dentist's surprise, because the dentist did inform me that we would probably lose 1 or 2 of his teeth. So he's here tonight and he's one of my biggest advocates, and he wants to just say a couple of things.
Hello, my name is Hayden and I'm that boy on the screen there. And I broke the 2 front teeth. And they amazingly healed, as you can see here.
Tell me what you like to do with Renew.
Okay. I am into sports, so every time I go to swimming or running carnival, I get the tube and I rub it on my leg, and then I take water. And often, with my best friend, if I'm not competing against him, then I usually give him some of the gel as well, and that helps him. And a few months ago, I was at my cousin's house and I slipped, and I had cut my knee on the washing machine, and it was a straight cut straight through my knee, and it was quite bad. And my dad came running in with a spray bottle, and he was spraying it and blobbing gel on it, and it wasn't bleeding, or it was like starting to close up as soon as I got home. And now my knee, it's closed up, and there's only a little bump on my knee from that accident.
Awesome. So you can see we use it in our house for absolutely everything. He's one of my biggest advocates. Thank you, Hayden. Okay, so here we have a thermal imaging picture. Some of you may or may not know what this is, but it's a specialized camera that takes a photograph, and you can see the hot spots that show up on the body. So let's have a look down here at the middle one. We have our lower back. It's red and it's showing some really funky colors there, but after applying the Redox gel 3 times in 10 minutes apart, you can see what's changed. So if you have some kind of condition, you've been through some kind of treatment, then just applying the gel that's in a picture form, you can see there what it's doing. So what do the experts say? Anne-Louise Gittleman, she's an author of more than 30 books, and she says, ASEA, in my humble estimation, is the greatest advance in lifestyle medicine which harnesses the power of your own body to keep you well. And Dr. Gary Samuelson, he's the gentleman that stabilized these molecules. He said the technology has the potential to spearhead the greatest advances in health that we have ever seen. So your first bit of your homework tonight is ASEAScience.com. That's where you can go to learn more. I spent quite a lot of time in the research phase here, really digging through and digging deep into what ASEA was, where it came from, what it was. You'll find some good, bad, and ugly on Google. So I suggest trying Google Scholar, typing in redox signaling molecules, typing in the science here, and clicking on some of these links that will open and download the actual science studies. You'll find on the top tab there all about the medical board and the company, and you need to spend some time looking at that. The Huffington Post published an article on 5 emerging technologies in science that will shape our lives, and guess what number 4 is? It's redox signaling technology. So you can Google that article there and have a little read. How did it all begin? It began with these 2 gentlemen here. So Bertus Norton was the CEO of Kraft Foods. He was not exactly into a health company, he was into cheese. And his son, Tyler Norton, was in the financial world. He was a finance man in New York. And Bertus was asked to sit on the board of a company that was trying to stabilize these molecules. They had a product and a machine that took salt and water and they put it through a chemical process, except what would happen is that it would make the redox molecules, but they would not stay in that form and structure. They'd go back to salt and water. So the trick really came was when Gary came in and he was able to stabilize those molecules. But anyway, he was drinking the molecules, and of course he didn't really want the hassle of the company and the strategy. He was retired. He just wanted to buy the machine. The trouble is the machine was not for sale. Only the company and everything involved was. So he decided that he really needed to keep using these products, and he purchased the entire company, science and everything that they had to date. And of course he found Gary then, and Gary was the gentleman that stabilized the molecules. So now they had the complete package. They had a product that was going to help people sleep. It was going to help people get energy. It was essentially going to help change the face of health in a very sick world that we have today. And so, of course, a man in America, corporate America, he knew the connections to Big Pharma. He thought they're the ones that spread the good message and help make people well. So he called Big Pharma in. You can see this all in your homework number 2, which is the ASEAGenesisVideo.com. If you type that link in, you'll start to hear this story for yourself. And of course, at the end of that day, when they presented everything that they had, all the studies, all the science, Big Pharma thought it was the most magnificent thing they'd ever seen. They offered $1 billion cash to this family. And of course, that's a lot of money to you and me, and 99.99% of all of us probably would have taken the money and run. Except what was going to come following that is that they were going to close down the company and take everyone off the product. That's a harrowing, scary thought when you have something that can change the world and make people well, and all of a sudden it's going to disappear. So they had 6 of their friends drinking it, and 5 of them were terminal. So if they had the product removed, they were afraid what might happen to these people. So, of course, they said no to that money, and they said yes to all of us. So the reason you're hearing it tonight through someone is because the best way to get any information to anyone is via word of mouth. Now, remember, these people were not into marketing. They were not into health. They were not into this type of business. But what they did know through their research is that the fastest way to get anything was by word of mouth. So if you think about your hairdresser, your massage therapist, the restaurant that you eat at, probably the shoe shop that you shop at, someone probably told you about it, or you heard a good experience. So the reason you're here today is because someone cared about you and loved you enough and thought that maybe this product or this opportunity could help you. So when you look at all the advertising there in my 28 years of business, I have barely used hardly any of those methods, only word of mouth. It was someone saying to someone, go and see Sally, she can help you. So if you take a look at the numbers here in the industry, I was quite shocked when I started to see some of these numbers, because what shocked me the most was that bottom one, the global networking industry. I don't know about your house, but mine's full of Thermomix, Enyo, Norwex. My drawer's full of Tupperware. These are all from the networking direct sales industry. So this is not anything new or different. It's just a different way of marketing and getting products. I don't like going to the shops anymore. I don't have time, quite frankly, and I can buy everything that I want or need pretty much online. So if you look at an income producing level, like I say, the side effect of what I now do is that I created a stream of income and a team of people that are using a product they're not going to stop because they love it. So why not get it through your stream when you create it and you tell someone about it? I would love to pay all my clients that have ever referred me a client. I would like to pay them a commission on every time that client visits me, but that's not how the traditional business works. Whereas in this business, if I recommend one of the ASEA products and they continue to use it, then ASEA continues to say thank you to me for introducing that person to their business. So the ASEA success story is we're profitable since the first year. We own our own manufacturing facility. We have 11 distribution centers. We ship to 30 countries. We own almost $500 million in sales, year-on-year growth, and we're only just getting started. This is only new in Australia. It's only been here for a little over 18 months. So because of my extensive travel, I have friends all over the world. They all want to complain on Facebook, and they all want to tell me how they've got no energy and they can't do this or their kids that. If I simply send them a message and say, I think you've got something that might work, this is what we use, why don't you take a look at a link? They like it. They want to try it. It ships from that warehouse in that country to their doorstep, and I teach them how to use it. It's really that simple. I don't ship, I don't post, I don't deal with money, I don't do any of that. That's what ASEA does for me. So it's the perfect business to be associated with, because guess what? I'm good at doing this. I'm not really good at doing all this techo marketing and, you know, all of that kind of stuff, because I've always worked with my hands and with people. So if you like to help people and you want to make a difference in someone's life, I get someone text me every single day telling me a story of how they've done something with these products that's been totally life-changing, or they've now got energy to spend time with their kids. So to me, that's worth, you know, that it's worth the world to me. So where do you see yourself? There's 3 columns here. And I really don't care which column you take, but I want you to be healthy and I want you to have energy. So the first way we all start is we have to use it, and we have to be a product of the product, let's say. So when you start to use this and someone hurts themselves in front of you, and you pull out your tube and you apply it and they feel better, then you've quickly moved into aisle 2 here, because now you've shared it. It's been a natural response because all you did was try and help someone. In the process of helping someone, they ask, what is that? Where does it come from? How do I get it? You show them how to get it. And now they've got it and they're using it, and that duplicates. I can't stop this train now because I started to share it with a few of my close friends, clients, and family, and they started to do the same thing. So now the opportunity for me to travel is amazing. I get to go to New Zealand and I get to hang out with my friends in the States, and it's all because of this train that I can't stop. So now I'm sitting in the 3rd aisle, and the 3rd aisle means that I get to travel. ASEA pays for me. I win these amazing trips. I can't believe that we cruised the Bahamas as a family. We get to be in the States when my husband's mother passed away. We got to be there when the funeral was happening. So we could be together as a family, and we didn't have to pay these exorbitant flights for the 4 of us to get to the other side of the world. Soon to be, we're traveling with a lot of my friends and family now that have joined us, and we're going to be in Los Cabos in a few weeks hanging out at the beach. So for me as a travel addict, this is a dream come true now, where someone else is paying me and I don't even have to be working while I'm on these trips like I did on the cruise ship. So the sky is the limit there on what you can do. And I encourage you to just start with step 1. You don't have to be dreaming and thinking about step 2 and 3, because that's a side effect of what happens when you get well, you get energy, you sleep. Everyone starts to notice, and they can't help but say, how do I get a bit of that? And if you're willing to open your mouth and share it with them, they will thank you forever. If you don't share it with them, someone else will, and then they'll be mad at you, because when they find out you've been doing this for 2 years, they'll say, well, why didn't you tell me? So I can encourage you. Some will be skeptics. I was a skeptic. I sat for 9 months watching this. Thankfully for me, it was in the early days before ASEA was even here. So be a skeptic. I love skeptics. Do your homework, and you'll discover for yourself, if you actually use it in the right way for long enough, that you will start to get some results. So we have a discovery that will significantly impact people's health, a technology that has the entire scientific community buzzing, and we have it in a model that's widely accepted, it's growing, and it's so easy. You don't have to deal with all of that stress of staff, employees, marketing, communication. It's all done for you by ASEA. So you get a position on a team. We will help you succeed. Upline, downline, crossline, frontline, you know, whatever that means. It means that we're all here together to support each other. This call has been broadcast globally, and it will be recorded. So if you've enjoyed it, you will be able to share it with someone that couldn't be here tonight. There's income on the product sold through your team. You'll start to earn, and you get free training and mentorship. So you're making a difference for so many people when you just open your mouth. So we're all at the start of something big with great purpose, and right now is the moment that we begin influencing the future. We can change the world. So that's a saying from our fearless leader, Vertus Norton. He never knew what this was going to do or the impact it was going to have on such a massive global scale. He can't control his emotions now in a room with people. It's the most beautiful thing to see an A-type personality become what he is today, in this soft, gentle giant. And he's overcome with emotion when people start telling him that they were a stage something and they're now thriving and striving, and they're actually living their life to full potential, and the joy that they're getting out of helping someone do the same with, you know, other sick people. So if you can ever be in the presence of him or his son, it's the most magnificent thing to just see exactly what we are doing here on a global scale. So I invite you to join us in this mission that we're on to really try and clean up the health of the world. This call is on every Wednesday night. There will be a different expert in the house, so everyone has a different story to share, and it's something you can use to invite people to really share the message of the molecules. So I think that pretty much wraps up my little spiel here. Let's see if we've got some questions here. I love that boy. Thank you. Okay, cool. So if anyone has any more questions, then if you want to type them in the chat box, I can